So I've noticed a lot of controversy around this really popular game that came out recently called Palworld. There's controversy mostly over it being claimed that it copied Pokemon. And I don't know how you can say that you copied something when you just made something better. But anyway, oh, Palworld has a lot of controversy to it for varying reasons. And I was trying to scour the internet for evidence of what people were talking about. And it's really hard because most of the things that I've seen have been comparing like one or two things here and there. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take this wonderful game that we know and we're going to go over some of the things that I was able to scour about it and probably progress into a conclusion. But so the first one that you kind of like get is accidentally creating a complex model mesh that's so near exact proportions it's impossible. Okay, so you've got like the side by side comparison here. They just keep moving the models back and forth. And yeah, so it's a really, really close proportion. We don't see... So this one doesn't quite do the wireframe, so you can't quite tell as easily with the, wireframe objects. And so they do the same thing here. Now, here's what's interesting. Is you notice that the Lavander model has a more female figure curve to it. Whereas, I don't know which one they're comparing here. But it also gets, like, really interesting when you have 111 monsters versus, like, some 700 or something. And I don't see the wire mesh here at all either. But, yeah. It would be nice to see the legs down so you could compare the legs even better. The arms are kind of quite a bit off. It seems like you've got thinner arms up here. Are you working for me, buddy? Okay. This one's a little bit easier to see. You can see the heads are kind of the same size. You can see that they've got a similar, like, hairdo going on. The tails aren't quite the same length. Paws are a little bit different. Go to the wireframes. Come on. Go back to the wireframe. Can we? So, you notice here in the wireframes, you've got one that has a straight back, one that has more of like the hourglass figure to it. And then a couple other things that are different, like the legs being different and things like that. But obviously they ripped the model and changed the model. So you've got Eric Covington that is commenting on it. To accidentally create a complex model mesh with so near exact proportions is practically impossible. Now, if we go back, Eric Covington, if you didn't notice before, is a game designer, narrative content, and whatever, formerly at Blizzard Entertainment and PlayStation. Now, this is interesting because everybody's been like complaining they copied Nintendo. And yeah, so like you've got Biofrog that has been credited with doing this rip. Now, let's see, Final Fantasy copying. Let's see, pals that have similar proportions to Pancham. You don't give me that? Okay. Okay, yeah, I guess, like, we're getting down to comparing noses. And doing stuff like that. Let's see. Okay, so I mean, I guess the noses are similar in poly count. Oh, wait. Oh, this is actual Eevee. Okay, they do look really similar, I guess. We're just gonna go through all the evolutions and compare noses because we're a nose-like person. Okay. Let's see. But whiskers and hair in the same general place. Okay. Now, it feels like we're grasping at straws halfway when you say that. I don't know what I would say that they're a good match for the meshes and fine geometry, but the whiskers and hair are in the same general place and the head shape is close. I mean, are you arguing over them copying Pokemon or what? Okay, so you move things slightly and they become nicely aligned. Cool. You know, this is actually really handy. Okay, so I did scale the models uniformly, and I did apologize for being imprecise. I will never apologize for apologizing. Scaling models doesn't fabricate anything. But your claim is that they ripped Pokemon. So you're saying that by scaling up or down the models, that it means nothing. It's the same. They still ripped it and things like that. I don't get what's going on here. Okay, so we've got models here. Okay, so not the same, obviously, I guess. Let's see. They line up so well. But notice the hand over here has more polys than the hand over here, too. But we're going to look at the arms. Let's see. We've got Lycanroc. We've got the Sobble. Are they the same? Let's see. That one has two. That one has two. That one has the rib. That one has the rib. Let's see. Now we've mixed two models together to create something. Let's see. Let's see, there's a superior rip, as claimed. They're not node for node the same, but they're really close. So we're comparing models here. We've got how many different monster pals? 1, 2, what? 3, 4. Let's see. 5, 6, 7. Let's see. 8, 9, 10. We've got 10 out of 111. 11. Let's see, and then there's 12. And then we'll add the Lift Monk just for fun, 13. So 111 out of 13. That's a little over 10% of the sample size of the total pals in Palworld. with a sample size of about that. Well, no, it'll be so 12 from Pokemon. And then you add on that they're claiming one is actually a mesh of 2 or 3. So you've got basically 15 out of all the Pokemon in Pokemon.
A few moments later.
So I don't know where it cut off, but OBS crashed on me because of its fine goodness. But basically, we've got an interesting sample size of 15 Pokemon out of, like, compared to, like, 12 supposed copies. And some of these are, like, they're saying that, like, they took 2 models and meshed them together to make this PAL. And so that's clearly ripping and smacking them together, okay? So you've got a sample, like, Pokemon that has made models inspired by multiple different, like, mythologies and actual real-world animals. And then you've got Palworld coming in, making 111 of them in their PAL deck. And Pokemon, I think, has pretty much covered the wide gamut of creatures that are available to copy, pretty much. Or, I mean, be inspired by. So this is just, like, 2 people on Twitter. And so I've gone to a couple different places on top of that to look at, some situations, like some commentary. So we're going to go to the fine people at Reddit and ask them for their, like, comments. So basically, this is the one where they took the skeleton between Palworld and Pokemon and compared them. So you've got Palworld up at the top and, like, Pokemon down at the bottom, and they've got the skeletons. Professional animator, obviously. And so you overlay the mesh just right, the skeleton just right, or move it just right, rather. You keep the little dingus. So you rig the skeleton to the model, all nice and cutesy. Okay, so you've moved the skeleton up a little bit. Skeleton doesn't matter because Nintendo isn't original. Pokemon was copied from Dragon Quest. The Pokemon hybrid fan MMO community exposed Nintendo Pokemon years back. Pokemon wants to copyright a not-so-original design. Wow, can't believe Nintendo Game Freak stole Palworld assets. Man, the audacity. Pokemon... We're gonna save that for later, okay? Let me see. Okay. So here's the other one that I was kind of alluding to, is this one right here. So why is it that Palworld can't base their designs off of real-world animals without being called Pokemon ripoffs? It's kind of like hypocritical. It's like we take mythical creatures, we take Anubis, we do an actual proper Anubis, and we get claimed for being a Lucario ripoff. It's like Lucario was inspired by Anubis, but then you've got Anubis in Palworld that is kind of closer to Anubis than Lucario is. Let's see, Lord of the Rings has Oliphants, World of Warcraft has Elex, Dungeons & Dragons has a Hollyphant, Digimon even has the Elefamon. These are just a few examples of elephant-inspired creatures out there. No, do you know what all these have in common with Donphan and Mammorest? Let's see, Mammorest. Oh, that's another one to add to the list. Okay, cool. Most Pokemon are based on real-world animals, objects, or folklore. If you base your creatures on real-world animals, objects, and folklore, they're going to look similar to other creatures based on those things. Pokemon comparisons are obviously intentional by the developers, but there are only so many directions you can take stylized creatures you collect, and any attempt to do it will look like Pokemon. So they just leaned into it. Pokemon can't win a lawsuit against blah blah blah. I mean, debatable. If you have enough money, you can probably win something, but there have been creatures like this for quite a while. And again, we'll get into like some of the other things that Nintendo has done in the past before. But let's see, the next one. No, we're gonna save that for later, I guess. Oh, actually, no, we do want to do this one. Okay, so we went over the, like, model comparisons, and it kind of touched on this. Palworld was not made with AI, it was not made with stolen assets. Look at how the models are one-to-one. Twitter user admitted to scaling them to fit. So the original person scaled the models to be similar size so you could see the proportions. Does that have any bearing on it? Maybe not, but it still like kind of kills part of your argument when you're like, yeah, I did scale the models so that they would be similarly sized so you could see the proportions. When at first you say, hey, these are one-to-one, whatever. And saying that they're exact, and then later on saying, okay, maybe it was an exaggeration that I said they were exact. It's like, if you're going to make an argument like this over something that is going to be legally litigated, you have to be more precise when you're claiming someone did something illegal. You're not going to go, don't make these, like, exaggerations, because you're going to be slammed in the court of public opinion, especially when it comes to something that may lead to wrongful litigation of something, or possible wrongful litigation of something. Let's see, anyone with a shred of knowledge of AI in Blender would know that all of those allegations are fake, but what irks me more is how this small team of indie developers is getting such rough treatment just because the game is successful. So it's interesting because you get all these people that open up Blender and go into it, and then you've got people that have never worked with Blender before, that have only worked in professional modeling software like Maya or animation software like that, and it's like, I don't know Blender at all, so, you know, you couldn't ask me, and it's like, oh, well, the model looks the same, though, at the same time. Yes, you can, like, look at the model, but at the same time, how Blender works, you don't exactly know how that works. So there are certain things to where it's like, if the software that they may be using is different than the software that you're using, and then when you take those two into account, it's like, I don't really know if it's a software that did this, like, because Blender has like smoothing algorithms for smoothing out models, so you can like do a rough model and then smooth it out. So you could have poly counts be really similar, and it's just a matter of the software doing it, just like how computer chips are going to be very similar. And that's why many of these microchip companies don't want us knowing their secrets, because they're probably copying and pasting these chips across computer manufacturers. So, I mean, can we really say that Palworld is a ripoff, or Palworld is a ripoff of Pokemon when they've got more functionality? But the models are very, very similar. Yes, the models are super, super similar. The models are super-de-duper-de similar. Super-de-duper-de-duper-de similar. So similar, in fact, that maybe Pokemon has a super-de-duper-de similar look to Dragon Quest in many ways. I mean, look at Ammonite. Look at our nice jelly slug boy. Look at our bat. Look at our bat. Look at our caterpillar. Look at our caterpillar. I mean, if we're gonna make accusations, let's just look at like 84 versus 93. Let's see. No Nintendo memes outside of the weekend. Please visit Pal Memes if you'd like to post Nintendo memes. It's the weekend. Mods aren't on. See, here's the thing, is like, nobody said... How many people went and said, oh, Minecraft is just a ripoff of Dwarf Fortress? But then Notch is like, well, I was inspired by Dwarf Fortress. Can Palworld not say I was inspired by Pokemon and not get accusations of copying models? And it's like, oh, they did AI generation for it. It's like, okay, so did they do better gameplay? Well, they made AI generated stuff and they didn't list it as such. It's like, okay. Well, they ripped off Pokemon. It's like, oh, well, okay. But did they rip the assets from Pokemon and modify them? Yeah, and here's why we can prove it is because the models are so similar with their skeleton and things like that. It's like, what's going to be harder? Making your own model from scratch or taking someone else's model, making color edits to it, and then changing vertices and adding vertices or taking away vertices so that it doesn't look exactly the same. It seems like it may just be easier to just start from scratch and color it the way you want it to, rather than taking a photocopy of someone's homework or even copying their document somewhat and changing it to sound more like you. And yeah, maybe you have some AI assistance along the way, because who among us has not used AI art for a thumbnail? Let him first cast the first stone. If you enjoyed the video, then like, comment, subscribe, feed the algorithm, boost the video up, share this video with your friends. If you found it informative or you just want to chat, I've got plenty of places in the description, Discord, Guilded, and what have you. Check those out, and I will see you guys in the next one. So I forgot to show off some cool Palworld cosplay, and this is just really nice. And, you know, really, it's just... The Palworld cosplayers are going really, really hard. And just taking on the gun aesthetic of everything. But remember, in all this controversy, let he who has not copied Pokemon or played a Pokemon ROM hack or even used AI art in his thumbnail first cast a stone. Who among us has not done any of these things? Who can say that they have not done one of these things and trodden upon the intellectual property of which we call Pokemon?